Doctor Who, Series 12, Episode 3, Orphan 55. Well, that was about as subtle as a sledgehammer to the face.
With dynamite
That's
tied to the end of it.
I thought you'd start with.
Oh, I've got many things wrong with this particular episode,
Yeah,
but
no, we know.
but but I figured that was the most interesting way to start it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's like, okay, I get it. You want to get this message across. This is the laziest way to do it. Like
It started out okay, and then then they gave up with the metaphor and are like, you know what? Let's just throw finish the episode by throwing the message at you like some sort of daycare after school special.
yeah. Well, and on top of that, okay, so you have all these people. Okay, you have no historical record that these people died. Okay,
Yeah.
the whole reason that episode doesn't end in like the first couple minutes is because they've once again she's not got her TARDIS with her. Like they specifically ripped the TARDIS away so that they could write this much easier. You know, they didn't have because the whole thing would have been resolved in about a minute if she'd had the TARDIS. It's like, oh yes, oh there's lots of people attacking. Let's just get in the TARDIS and get out of here, and we'll just drop them. And she doesn't go back at the end to pick these people up. It's like you had the opportunity. You have a time machine. You could run all day and be back in time for be back in before you left. And just go back to that place, which they have means of going places that people remember. They could just go, oh, that's where we went. Okay, we'll go there right at this moment. With all those people that are, with the people that were stuck there, and just yoink. If you haven't seen them die yet, as soon as you can come back as soon as you left, pick them up and leave.
Yeah.
I mean, so we're just going to leave them there? Okay. I guess you're just okay with them dying. That's fine.
Well, I mean,
It's
technically speaking, they're not born yet.
yeah, but it's just like you don't have to do that. You could just put them anywhere in their own timeline. Just you don't have to shift them time wise. Just shift them in space, and that's fine. Like, okay, we're going to take you from here, and we're going to put you wherever you were going to put them. And oh man. And one thing that I found out that was kind of funny. Okay, the episode last series with the father who abandons his kid to go visit this fake version of his wife.
Oh yeah.
Okay, same guy.
Oh.
Ed Heim, I think, is the same writer. And so again, parental abandonment.
Yeah,
He might have a problem.
Do you wanna sit down and talk about it, sir?
Like, somebody get Ed Heim some therapy. I mean, if he does, if that was genuinely something that came up in his life, okay, but it doesn't need to be something you're obsessed with, because that's kind of unhealthy.
So, here's a question about the TARDIS. This is for just all the doctors. Why doesn't the doctor have a little remote thing where she can push a button and the TARDIS instantly travels to her?
That is called the Stattenheimer remote, and that actually does exist. And
okay, where is it?
One Time Lord has had that. I'm pretty sure it was the Master. Although I thought the Doctor did have it at one point in time, but it was taken away from him by the Time Lords in his 5th or 6th regeneration.
Damn, because that would be really useful.
That's called the Stattenheimer remote.
Yeah.
That does exist.
Well, and the thing is that also, but that's not the point of them not being able to go there. Because if they wanted to go there, they could have just, gone there. The whole point of it was that they shouldn't have the TARDIS there because it resolved the issue. Like, you have
Yeah.
uncreative people writing these episodes like, okay, we have this massive
but-
key part to the Doctor, and it's like if it was like once or twice a season, like, okay, but like every episode she ends up forgetting where she parked the car, or the car is over there, and it's just like she can't get to it. It's like, can't you come up with something that's actually creative and includes, the core part of the series? Like,
Yeah, that's what they did with the unit last season. They couldn't think of a way around, oh, that'll solve the problem too early. Instead of figuring out a proper solution, they're just like, we'll take away the Deus Ex Machina. Like,
yeah, well, it's not a Deus Ex Machina if they're an established bit of it. It's like it's just an easy solution. Like, we'll take away the easy solution because we can't actually work around why they wouldn't be able to do this, or we can't write around it. So we're just going. It's kind of the opposite of the Deus Ex Machina, because Deus Ex Machina comes out of nowhere. Like, Unit is not coming out of nowhere. It's like that's an obstacle to writing because you have to think about why isn't Unit already here, or you could put Unit there but make them ineffective. Like, okay, why isn't Unit effective against this particular problem? Well, okay, they don't have the knowledge the Doctor has. They don't have the technology necessary to handle the problem. Like, you had the whole Sontaran issue, like the Poison Sky. Like, Unit was involved. They still couldn't stop. they tried to help, but the Sontarans, stopping bullets and with the Coeur d'Alene signal, and there was reasons why it didn't work.
And the episode with the Cybermen unit was involved, but they didn't have and it's a freaking Dalek.
Yeah.
Of course Unit would be involved with that, and of course they would fail. Well, not of course they would fail, but they don't have the capacity to solve that problem on their own.
Yeah. Like, if it was,
they would be calling the Doctor, not the Doctor calling Unit.
Yeah. Or the Doctor would arrive and Unit would already be there.
Yeah.
It's like, Unit isn't to be avoided. It's to be used as a tool to show just how dangerous whatever it is you're dealing with is.
Yeah.
It's like Unit are the special forces against aliens. If they're having problems, it's serious.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They can also help the Doctor by, if he needs, and I know we got that whole issue with the Cybermen in 12. It's like, and Master's like, I built you an army. He sometimes the Doctor needs an army. He needs more hands or she needs more hands to do something. They don't generally like it, but it's it's something that they do, and it's like they've basically tried to pare down as much of the difficulty of writing as possible by eliminating any sort of source of Unit would make this too easy, we have to get rid of them completely, in a really cheap Brexit joke. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I
mean, and technically Unit isn't gone because, even if it was completely disbanded in the UK, it is an international organization.
Yeah. So there's just like,
I'm still pissed about that from last year.
Yeah, it's like, do not understand what Unit is, do you? It's like I'm not the I know a fair amount about Doctor Who, but you know, I'm pointing out these flaws better than you are. Like, you have people that just don't care, are just not passionate about this series, don't know enough about it. Like, if you're gonna, it's the same thing I think that probably happened to some of the like Discovery. Like, I think Picard's gonna
Yeah.
have different problems, but like, throw canon out the window. It's not important.
It's like, just let's make it edgy and forget the lore that's been around for over 50 years.
Yeah.
Unit literally is over 50 years old now because it came out in 1966. Unit itself is over 50 years old.
Yeah.
Doctor Who is like almost 60.
Yeah, and
And
what are you gonna?
it's like, ugh.
Yeah, it's like, so we need to remove something that that makes no sense why it's being removed. We just, other than lazy writers who don't know what they're doing. It's like, it's just, that's the fun bit of seeing how people play around these challenges. Like, the Doctor has a lot of resources at their disposal, and if you can't write around those or use them, like, unit can be used. You just have to show
Mhm.
that they're ineffective. You know, um, in fact, you can have them be effective for once, and the Doctor is having an argument with Kate Stewart, and you can have about morality or something. Like, oh no, you can't do that because of this, and this, and they try to work it out, and there's some conflict there, but eventually they work out something that works. But you can do these things. You can have this very interesting story, but it's like,
And I would love to see the new Doctor interacting with Kate and Osgood and the rest of the unit gang. Like, I would love to see the interaction between the new team. I mean, between the fam and unit, because of the different dynamics that would pose.
but yeah, it's just like that, and to a lesser extent, like, that's
I'm
one of the
surprised they
things.
let her do Sonic.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, with the way they don't want to have to include any technology with that, actually gives the Doctor some of her advantages. Like, yes, the Doctor is supposed to have advantages in intelligence and strategy. Knows way more than the average, than anybody on Earth could possibly know about things. But she also has this technology that helps.
Yeah.
Screwdriver, TARDIS, and has allies, unit. Torchwood kind of for a time, but I think they're
Yeah,
supposed to
but
be shut
Torchwood's
down.
gone. Torchwood is gone.
Yeah,
Torchwood is completely defunct now. They went to America, then there was Miracle Day, and that's a whole can of worms and shit storm that you really don't want to deal with.
yeah, I know.
Oh.
But like, yeah, but yeah, it's just like you have all these things that could make it interesting in the way in clever use of it. It's like, no, we're gonna take all of that away because we're too lazy of writers to do that. Oh, and also, while I'm thinking, well, it popped into my head. Oh my god! Don't show those monsters in bright daylight. It takes the intimidation factor down by about 10. It's like, it
Yeah.
goes from
Those
10 to
Jack,
6 to
Jack
0.
watched it with me. Jack watched it with me both times I watched it, and he called them zombies.
Yeah, I mean, they
He's like,
kind of
yeah,
do.
he's like, Well, they're people. They're humans who were turned into monsters. That's a zombie.
And not wrong.
but yeah, I mean, it's an okay design, um, as
I
long
mean,
as
it's
it's kept in the
for the,
dark. You know,
it's great for the flashing and like like when the electricity is blinkering out and stuff. That flashiness,
yeah, and
like
you can get away with a lot when they're still or they're moving in the shadows. Like they could be intimidating, but just out on a freaking hill, bright light all around. It's like, it would have been a better, like, well, I guess it wouldn't work that way. Well, you could do it in a place with a lot of cover, like crags and
they're it
you know,
kind of reminded me of a cross between the Silence and a werewolf.
but
A
yeah,
silent werewolf.
Yeah.
they're just not intimidating when you show them in
No,
that much light.
no, not at all.
Especially when they like if they kept their arms down and their torso kind of hunched over. Even then, if they kind of they kind of sculpt instead of standing up and showing where the sort of bends are in the costume or the model, you know if they that in and of itself makes it look really cheap. Like they have to stay.
I I know they said that they're trying to make it more reminiscent of Classic Who. Although, why the hell would you get rid of Unit if you're trying to make it like Classic Who?
Yeah,
Because Unit is Classic Who. There was literally a decade, almost the entire decade was freaking Unit. Okay.
yeah. Well, I know he was Earthbound for a good portion of 3 at least. So
Most of 3, and even then when he went into 4, he still would pop into in fact, 2 of his companions worked for Unit.
yeah, Unit isn't this sort of we suddenly decided to bring it in under the new
It's not
the
Torchwood,
revival. Yeah,
because
Torchwood
Torchwood,
okay, that's new, but
yeah, no, I'm saying
yeah,
Torchwood is let's just throw it in and retcon its existence, even though you already had an organization that's existed for decades.
yeah. You could have
Yeah,
you have Unit. You could have just done
Use
the
what?
Unit.
same thing out of Unit. Like if instead of the episode with the werewolves that sort of was the one of the ways they sort of said, oh yes, the Torchwood Institute. It's like we shall start the Torchwood Institute and such, and it's like
Yeah, but wasn't
they could have said, oh,
Unit
it's Unit.
like wasn't like Unit like help the Doctor and Torchwood was keep an eye on the Doctor?
I think
Uh,
I think
no,
to a certain
I think,
extent the Unit probably did a bit of both. Like
yeah, but no,
they
Torchwood
helped a
was
lot, but they kept an eye on them.
Torchwood was more Men in Black thing, where it wasn't the Doctor specifically. It was there's some crazy shit out there. We better keep an eye on it and protect the Earth from aliens. Unit, and that was more of a Men in Black type organization.
Uh,
Unit, however, is an international military peacekeeping initiative, as they phrased it. It was originally United Nations, but then after sometime between 2006 and when it appeared in New Who, they changed it. The UN's like, we wash our hands of this shit, and so they're like Unified Intelligence Task Force instead of United Nations Intelligence Task Force. But anyways, yeah,
Yeah, and
Unit.
they could have folded Torchwood in as a new branch of Unit, or just
Yeah,
they could have done any of that sort of thing if they wanted. but they had to make a new one. But whatever. Getting back to this episode. Oh wow.
I mean, there have been fanfics that had more substance.
Yeah, it's just like we, what what are we doing here? Oh, also, have you ever seen the movie Spaceballs?
Yeah, dude, I'm surrounded by assholes.
Well, also, uh, is it -3?
Yeah.
It looks a
I
little like barf. I'm my own best friend.
yes, I was thinking that while I was watching it. I'm like, oh my gosh, Barf has a girlfriend.
No, I just want to see a space Winnebago fly by and just like
Yeah.
one of those crowded spaceship scenes. You just see a space Winnebago fly by.
Yes, I really kind of want to draw that now. If I was better at drawing people, I would totally draw that. I would totally draw like Barf and Hyphen and like Barf hitting on Hyphen. Because that's totally what would have happened and everybody knows it. It'd be like, how you doing? Type hitting on too. Completely cheesy and completely failing.
And yeah, on a more serious note, I'm just sort of as my kind of criticisms come up. Okay, how is this mechanic keeping his job? Like,
His,
other than his son, how did he get this job?
his kid cheated for him.
Like, I mean,
All right,
his kid hasn't been around for. How did he get he had to get experience as a mechanic beforehand. How did he not get, you know?
I have no idea.
it's the green
Although,
hair.
what reminds me of, you've all seen the Abrams verse Star Trek, right?
Only the first one.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
first one is I think the first one is where Scotty comes in. But that scene where you have Scotty and that key the dude with the weird black eyeballs. The little green guy who was
Oh, okay.
hanging out with him. That's what those two made me think of.
Oh yeah, I may have seen the second one as well. May have seen the one with Khan. Was that the first one? It's been a long time. I don't
No,
watch a lot of movies,
no, it's the second.
but um,
Actually, I did make a meme of that where that's that classic scene where you have Kirk's shouting Khan, and then I took a screen grab of Yaz going what because her last name is Khan.
yes.
That's called.
Yes, Yasmin Khan.
That's
Yeah,
called.
one thing I did kind of find funny was that we did get a little bit of character development, like a little pebble in a huge pile of garbage, but like just like Ryan is about as smooth as sandpaper.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought that was funny. He's about as smooth as sandpaper, but
His chat up lines are the worst. No wonder he wants to hook up with Yaz's sister. It's an easy get.
but
It's like,
yeah.
yeah, why don't you give her my number? Because you're my friend. You're like my best friend, and like you. Yeah, but I could be your brother-in-law.
But yeah, I mean, that was a small bright spot in a huge pile of garbage. It's like, yeah, Ryan's he's about as smooth as sandpaper. And it's just like one grit sandpaper, just a rock on a piece of paper. But
So it's interesting. Well, we both have dead parents.
Yeah. So what are you guys talking about? That is another character development. We have more evidence of how very uncouth the current doctor is. Like, she is about as observant of social cues as like um, well, I don't want to say an autistic because, well, it's true and still kind of like stereotype.
Yeah, but it's like
But
I'm autistic and I have better social cues than her.
yeah. But I mean, she is like next level.
yeah, like you didn't really dish that problem with people that you had with 12, did you? You never really got rid of
Yeah,
that, did you?
he's got the. No, she did get rid of part of it. She's now a lot
Yeah, not all of
happier.
it, but like she never fully got rid of that problem. Like she cares a
No,
lot more, but she
she
doesn't need a
she
carer.
did
She just needs a
get rid of that
translator.
problem. Yeah, she did get rid of that problem, and now she got a totally different problem.
Yeah,
Her new problem is she is about as observant as Watson when he first meets Sherlock Holmes.
So let me get this straight. I might have like misheard them, but have they really been with her for like 8 years?
When did you hear that?
Well, he said that my mother died. Oh no, that's his grandmother.
That's
Never mind, never mind. Yeah, that's his grandmother that fell from the thing.
yeah.
yeah.
His grandmother died. His mother's been dead.
Okay.
And when his mom died, his dad left because his dad's like, "You're too much like your mom," and I'm just going to be creepy about that.
Okay.
Yeah, no, they were only traveling with her a little while.
And
Although
also, go ahead.
I was right about a personality trait of hers that I'd thought up like before she actually started exhibiting it, the whole obliviousness thing, because I had this little skit in my head of the doctor before the whole unit being canceled last year thing, but right after, maybe around episode 5 or 6, I had this little mental skit of the doctor meeting Osgood and the whole unit gang and thinking that Josh is her boyfriend and being all like, "Ooh, Captain Dishy," and like acting like, "Okay, come on, spill," and Osgood getting all awkward and like, "Oh my God, shut up." And I can totally see that her doing that now even more
And
because
selective obliviousness can pick up something's there, but can't really, doesn't know what to do with it.
yeah, it's just like, "Oh, I'm one of the girls now. I'm gonna be cool about it.
Yes.
I'm a girl now. I can girl talk." No, just no.
But it's just like, oh, and on, was it Trixie Belle? It's
Yeah, tricks
like
about.
Dad's genes did some work.
Yeah, they did.
Because she looks nothing like her mother.
Well, I mean, I think that's part of the point. It's all
Yeah,
like,
that was the whole point, was to try and not make it obvious that those two were related, so that the twist actually works. But it's just like Dad's genes did some work.
I mean, it's just interracial relations. Nothing too weird.
Yeah, oh, no, nothing. Yeah, I'm not complaining of that. It's just like,
I mean,
it's
it's
like
not like Hyphen was the daughter. It's not like Hyphen was the daughter or something. That
yeah,
would have been.
yeah. It was just like, it was just sort of Wow, yeah, Dad's Jeans did some work on that one. Because you don't.
Plus, I think part of another big part of that though was the style choice she had,
Maybe,
if
but
you want to call that style. Because I mean, a big part of that was especially the wardrobe and the hair. She's just like wannabe punk goth type or whatever you call that.
it's
I don't
just
even know what you call that style. Metal, metal, punk.
yeah. And she's her reaction was, to her mother, going out there to try and you know do what she was doing. It's like, you know what? You've been working so hard. You know what? It's not to just ignore her and sort of you know not like her, but not like, okay, you don't care about me, I don't care about you. No, her reaction was, okay, you're gonna do that. I'm gonna bomb your freaking place to the
Yeah,
ground.
I think at least Ryan, when his dad like abandoned him, he's just like, okay, fine, you don't want anything to do with me. I wash my hands of you.
Yeah,
This
it's
chick,
like,
you gonna be a bitch? I'm gonna blow up your entire complex so you pay attention to me. That is like some straight up
with
Norman Bates.
herself
Like,
inside.
No, no, just imagine if they survived. Like at the end, they're sitting at the dinner table, just awkwardly eating cereal, staring at each other. So it's like, so we have time together now.
This is
What do you want
awkward.
to do?
But yeah, and also on top of that, and on top of dealing with her mommy issues, she's also going to take, you know okay, assuming the dregs didn't show up, assuming that they waited another week or two before they really started getting some, like, she did sort of, I didn't she also do the hopper so that that was so that the dregs would get in, like,
yeah,
okay, so your first step to getting revenge on your mother is to slaughter the tourists coming to her
yeah.
park. It's like, really? I mean, and your
She's a
later step
psycho.
is to blow the whole thing up so as to kill everybody who stays at the park, at the little the the
Vacation.
yeah, the vacation place, like your resort. The resort, that's the word I was looking for. So you're going to kill everybody at the resort to get it back at your mother for not being there.
Maybe she's related to the master. Her dad is a. Her dad. Oh, I just solved the case. Actually, look wise, that's viable. Her dad is O.
It could be. It also, yeah. It's just like her motivation is so weird. It's like, you're not paying attention to me, so you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna blow this up and I'm gonna kill. It's not like she scared everybody off. Like, if she was trying to scare people off, like, she'd let the dregs get close, but she programmed it to where people would know something was happening. They might see the dregs, but they don't actually kill anybody. But it's just enough to scare
Yeah,
everybody off. Like, that would be a
if
thing.
she,
That's a Scooby Doo kind of plot, but it makes sense. Like, she wants to ruin the business so her mother will leave and come back, and she'd actually get time with her. But
it
she
would
just,
have made more sense to have her, you know, break down instead of the force field, break down the holographic projector.
yeah,
And
So
that
like,
that
too.
instead of seeing the, that huge, beautiful landscape, they actually see the
Well, they were
horrible.
all walls, weren't they? The holographic stuff was all on the invisible walls. That
Yeah,
was that was the whole point. That was the whole thing. So they wouldn't have seen out. They would have just seen a bunch of walls.
yeah. No, they didn't they actually see into the walls because they were
No, they could only
invisible.
see out. They could see the wall, but they could see the wall because they could see past the wall because there was a hole in it.
Oh,
Yeah, because remember that exterior shot showed it's basically it looks kind of like um, not quite, but looks kind of like if you've ever seen the old Superdome, the New Orleans stadium. If you look that up, it looks kind of like that. It was sort of a like if you took a cake right out of the the pan. It's got that sort of a slight dome on the top of it, but it's sort of a disc with a dome on top. And so yeah, they would have seen that, and it would have been you know she could have messed with her reviews that way by saying, "Oh, yeah, the holographic stuff's always breaking down." Like, we don't need to kill people. We just want to run her off the, you know, you know, hurt the business enough that she gives up, and you can see her again if that's what you want. You know, you know killing people and presumably killing yourself when you blow up the place. That seems like a bit of an extreme place to start when you're you know just sort of got mommy issues.
yeah. That's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, again, people aren't always rational, so I'll give them that. But this seems like a big jump for I have mommy issues too. I've got to kill everybody at the resort and myself by bombing it into, you're not going to pay attention to me? Well, I'm going to kill us both. It's like, I understand irritation at that. I understand messing with her business,
But
causing
I think
holographic problems, but killing people just doesn't seem like it.
that wouldn't she wouldn't be the first person to be. You're not going to pay attention to me, then I'm going to kill us both. I mean, it is not that uncommon, actually.
It just
I
seems a
mean,
little extreme for what she was complaining about.
Yeah, with and I mean they did at least mention that in the episode. Like, dude, that chick's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, and don't get me wrong, it was warranted. Mother did point a gun at her too.
True.
Again, it was warranted, but still. What a
Yeah,
great family reunion. Oh, it's my
Yeah.
daughter I haven't seen in a long time. Here's a gun.
I'm gonna shoot you because you were gonna shoot me. Um, and then Ryan to the rescue. It's like, you're welcome. Dumbass, I wasn't trying to do that. Uh,
yeah, it's just like her motivations don't, like it's not a real, yeah. Her motivations seem a little light for what she was going to do, but yeah, I mean, there's lots of problems with this. Like, I mean, that whole ending is just awful,
preachy as fuck.
preachy and whatnot. And one thing is, like, generally, New Who has. I mean, maybe I'm forgetting some things, but like, this is just one of many timelines. It's like one possible
Yeah,
timeline.
yeah.
It's like
There were
generally
so
Doctor Who has had a closed loop sort of situation where, things happen because they, because the Doctor is there. That is how it always happened. Just the Doctor hadn't gotten around to it yet. Like, the Doctor is supposed to move this square one block that way. Well, they haven't done it yet, but eventually they will do that, and it was always that block was going there. And it's the whole sort of thing at the lake with 11. and this is a fixed point. It's like, well, yes, but the 11 wasn't a real 11, so that makes sense. It works. It still happened, but it didn't happen the way you thought it did. But maybe it's around fixed points and such. But
Yeah, Classic Who and New Who both address it as, and actually they've even mentioned it in New Who. I think it was the 10th Doctor explained it as there are certain points in time that are fixed. There are certain points in time that are in flux. There are certain points in time that it really doesn't matter because it will end up happening that way no matter what, but you can still change things within the event and it will end up like that, kind of like the movie the book The Time Machine. But there's also most moments are in flux, where from moment to moment it's not going to, it can change depending on the choices that are made. And the only issue with that is that once it is solidified, that timeline is no longer in flux and it is fixed.
but
So
yeah, and one of the things
the
that was what it made me go back to was like the second episode of New Who. They go to the end of the world. Like
yeah,
they watched the end of the world, and the Earth looked fine. From what we could see, it
oh,
looked green. Until the sun hit it, but it looked green and fine
yeah,
until
but
the sun.
that had so much wrong with that from a logistic standpoint anyways, because if the planet was under the heat effect of the
Yeah,
sun, it would
but
have been, if it were, the planet would have roasted a lot earlier than
yeah,
the
I know, but it's just like if you're
so
going to say
that
this is how it is, then and then you do this, and then you just okay,
cross
we're abandoning all those sorts of anything that happens on Earth past whatever point this orphan thing happened is like, oh yeah, that didn't actually happen because
but
we've
they did mention that time is in flux, so it technically isn't solidified yet, according to her. It can still be changed
mm,
potentially,
but
but
yeah, it's like yeah, I like my
I would.
I like my time loops closed. It's like, yes, this will
Yeah,
happen. You just have to do something to make sure that it happens the right way. You were always here. You were always part of the history, but you know, it.
no, and Doctor Who, even the closed time loops are not completely closed.
Well, I like the I like relatively closed time loops. I like those. As I like that as the way they sort of explained, like, yes, this history will happen the way it is because it gets rid of a lot of problems. It's like
Yeah,
it
uh,
gets rid of a lot of paradoxes. Is, oh no, I'm not changing history. This is how history always was. I'm just helping history follow the course that it already followed.
so basically like Rosa and the
Well,
seats.
yeah, that's one of the few things I didn't like. One of those things I didn't like about I did like about Rose was that it was a closed time loop. I like those sorts of things when they do that. But yeah, there's a lot more problems with Rosa though. Like that's a good part of it, but there are other parts of Rosa that I'm not a fan of. Um, but yeah, it's like anyway. But yeah, this was a hot mess.
Yeah.
It's like you got
It
a little
started
bit. There's a few
interesting.
pebbles here and there of something nice, but it's
And
mostly
oh my
garbage.
gosh, that whole thing, Benny has become a meme now.
Benny.
Benny has become a meme. There was actually one of the Twitter groups, like Doctor Who fan Twitter pages is like, change change one word in a Doctor Who episode title with Benny, and it's like, or you know how it's like, change the word of a movie with bacon, those kind of things.
Yeah.
It's like, change the word of a Doctor Who episode to Benny, and it's like, dude, he was one complete. That is another issue I had with that episode. So many arbitrary characters. Like, the story was not like set at all. Like, the story was a serious hot mess.
Well, and
Everything
well, they did have a
over-
purpose. They were supposed to be meat shields, so that the rest of them can get away. They're red shirts.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, but they gave too much backstory for freaking red shirts. They don't. You're not supposed to give backstory and like so much arbitrary, pointless bullshit for a red shirt. It's like, dude, okay, you know, and the thing with the hat, it's like, you realize the entire episode, basically the entire episode revolved around a fucking hat.
Yep.
Because she dropped her hat, the entire episode happened. Because otherwise they would have been safe and sound in the thing. They wouldn't have had to go looking for Benny. They could have fixed the problem with the wall. They wouldn't have had that issue, and they could have sent everybody home. The episode would have been done in 10 minutes. But because she dropped her fucking hat, all of that happened.
For want of a shoe.
Yes, literally.
Except it's a different article, and it's for humans, not horses.
And actually, I think it was a horseshoe nail. Not
Oh
a
yeah,
horseshoe.
for want of a nail. Yeah,
Yeah.
the shoe was lost for want of a shoe. The horse was lost for loss of the horse.
Yeah.
So, you know, and it goes on. But
Yeah, the point still stands.
yeah.
The entire episode happened because of a fucking hat.
Well, no, the whole episode also happened because Graham decided that instead of, instead of waiting and, going when the doctor was ready and she could just TARDIS them there.
Yeah.
I want to go now.
To be fair, he didn't
Oh,
know.
he didn't know. He was putting it together. He's like, oh, look at this. This is cool. They stick together like magnetic blocks. Wait. Are those perfect squares? Fuck.
Yeah,
And he's like,
but that's another
oh, no,
thing of, if that
potatoes.
didn't happen, the whole episode doesn't happen. Like,
Well, think of it this way: it's not as stupid as Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Because if you think about it, it would have ended.
Indiana Jones didn't do anything. Like if he wasn't in the movie, nothing would have
changed.
Nothing would have changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's still entertaining. That's still very entertaining. Even if there's that problem sort of down there, there's enough good stuff on top of it to make it a very entertaining movie. This does not have it. This does not have that advantage of being fun.
And that just makes it a closed time loop. The fact that he doesn't cause, his existence doesn't change anything causes it to be a closed time loop, which is why Dex likes the movie.
Are you telling me that Indiana Jones is a Time Lord?
No, I can neither confirm nor deny this. Although it would make a lot of sense, especially that Crystal Skulls movie.
Well, given that he has a father, it's not really, but it obviously knocks that out. But it's still
Not necessarily. My headcanon for the Ronnie is that she used the chameleon's arc to make herself human. And she
Sean Connery's character is a Time Lord. and he had Indiana Jones and Henry Jones Jr. We called the dog Indiana. But yeah, that has much more fun on top of it. Like this has problems, but it's you have this just layer of nonsense, and then you just pile more nonsense on top of it, and then polish it off with a big middle finger to your audience's intelligence.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's although I mean the Doctor Who originally was supposed to be a kids show, and at least my nephew likes the new season.
yeah,
And
very few people actually do. Yeah,
I
but
mean, I liked the first episode.
yeah,
I mean,
Spyfall was
like,
better, but yeah, it was. Well, see, that's the thing. It was like, okay, like when we had Spyfall, it's like, okay, not a great episode, but a good episode. Not a great episode, but not a good episode. A decent episode. Like this would be passable as a weak Tenet episode in some regards. Like a really one of like one of
yeah,
the a really
like
weak one of those. Maybe you could get
I
away with this,
like
but
that
like
stuff. So I mean, that's not really saying much.
I didn't catch what you first said. It kind of
I I said, yeah, but I didn't really like Tennant. He's like one of the weaker doctors IMO, so that really
yeah.
doesn't
Well,
say.
we don't share that opinion, so. But like in terms of like you could earlier more beloved Who's that Spyfall could have like for you 12 could have done that. 12 could have gotten away with that, and that would have been a weak episode of 12. Like it still would have been okay, but it's not. It's not quite what you expect. You have expectations. But I was like, okay, so maybe, and they dialed down. I mean, compared to last season, they dialed down the wokeness for Spyfall for the most part. There were a couple moments that were really bad, that were bad, but for the most part, it was fine. And I was like, okay, well, maybe they're going, okay, we overdid it with the wokeness. We can get away with it, like maybe once an episode if we're very quick with it and we're not beating people over the head with it. And like, okay, and we're going to raise our standards for what we're going to expect from our writers. And then we get this, and it's just like, oh, no, this isn't an upward trend. This is this is that, like, here's a decent episode, and then here's garbage again. It's like, ugh. Like,
I honestly liked some of last season better than I liked this one.
oh,
Like,
it's a very weak, yeah, it's a very weak, even by 13 standards, it's still a very weak episode.
it 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 wasn't. It was well acted. It was well like the concept was decent. It had the concept itself is pretty standard Doctor Who. The problem is that the writing of it, the events took place had no connection to one another as far as storyline or as far as any story development. No, the tertiary character had more character development than anybody else. The only character with any that showed any development was Mommy Complex.
Yeah, it's just like it was.
There,
Yeah.
and then Ryan and his wannabe Playboy.
Yeah.
Like that's literally all there was as far as any personality. And showing that Yaz is also equally as completely oblivious to shit as the doctor, because dude's about to propose. You see this couple having a nice relaxing time. Hey, I'm gonna go chat with them. I would just leave them be.
But
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Let's just
it looks like it
sneakily,
was
you know,
slapped together. Like nobody put much. The person
it,
who wrote it didn't put much thought into it. Like
it's like,
they were given like it was like they were given remember Whose Line Is It Anyway? Scenes from a hat. They were just given a premise.
you
It's like, okay,
know,
here's the
you,
premise.
you know,
Flip.
back in grade school where they had you put together the story based on the little cards with the little pictures, and they would have you put the pictures together to make a story.
Not really. I did, but
Okay, well, I was special and I'm insane. And so my social workers would have me do that. But they would give you like these little cardboard pictures and they would have you put the pictures together in an order that made sense to make a story. And it feels like somebody did that and they gave them a big stack of storyboard cards and are like, here you go. And they dropped it on the floor and just picked them up in whatever order they fell and like just threw it down and wrote the script based on that.
spinning's
That's
a good trick.
that's what it feels like. Like none of it, none of the order fits, you know? And the thing that got me the most is the whole, oh, we're gonna, it's like, how do you, I, that scene where they're out and they're driving around for like, they're in there for like what 20 minutes, so they went at least like I don't know 15 clicks, which is about 15 miles, and then
I
they
think clicks are
walked back.
kilometers, and I think they're just like
I thought it was a mile.
no clicks. I think are kilometers, which would make sense. This is a British thing, and a kilometer I think is I think
Still
kilometer.
a lot for
1 kilometer
driving.
is zero point 0.6 of a mile, so a mile is longer than a kilometer. So I think clicks are usually
Yeah,
kilometers.
either way though, that is quite a way, quite a ways for them to be walking back in so much shorter of a time than it took them to drive out there, especially
Yeah, it's like
and
Ryan's thing made sense. Like he and Trixie Belle getting there because they used a teleporter. Okay, that
exactly.
made sense. But the rest of them, how did they move
And
that many? How
without
did they
running
move that far
out.
with you know?
Although I do like, I did have two issues with the one scene though. You talk too much, which I do appreciate them like bringing that up and showing that, yeah, that's her character trait now, is that she talks too much and she's just a little too over the top. But the problem with that is Time Lords actually do have a thing where they can hold their breath a really freaking long time.
Yeah, that was one of those
They
things where
have
yeah they're not
that.
they
They
can
because the sixth doctor used that in the two doctors where so he didn't inhale the toxic fumes via his respiratory bypass. He's able to not inhale, and so one would think, being a genetic trait of the of Time Lords, she would still have that, and she would still be able to not have to breathe for so long. Yes, she talks too much, and therefore she consumes more oxygen. But at the same time, as long as she's not talking, she should be fine because she doesn't consume as much oxygen. So,
it just gave this whole thing just gave me a funny idea. It's just a funny mental image. They they grab a rock or a stick and they beat one of these dregs down to where it's they've knocked it down and they tie it up and then they just hold their each hold their canisters next to it and you just drag along this drag to be their little mobile oxygen tank. It's a funny image. I know they wouldn't do it, but they didn't do it and whatnot. But it's just this funny mental image of just them dragging along. Oh, I'm running a little low. All right, we're
You're
good.
saying they're gonna drag them along?
It's like an angry tree.
It is. But actually, that you know what that did make me think of though? A really poorly done parody of Nausicaa.
Alaska Valley of the Land.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because, the toxic jungle is there to purify the planet that we fucked up. And so, 1,000 years ago, nuclear winter happened, destroyed the planet, destroyed Earth just about. All that's left are a bunch of small little villages, basically. And the toxic jungle is sweeping in and killing people, when it turns out the toxic jungle is actually a byproduct of the purification process that is happening underneath the surface to try to get rid of the toxins that humanity put into the earth. So, I mean, the dregs are kind of the equivalent of the toxic jungle, but a lot more poorly developed.
Yeah.
And not one of Studio Ghibli's awesomeness.
It's still good, just not their best.
What? No,
I-
Nausicaa is like one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
I'm talking about this episode is not part of Studio Ghibli's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just.
Don't insult Nausicaa. It's like one of my favorite movies.
My favorite is Howl's Moving Castle. No. My favorite is Spirited Away.
Spirited Away is pretty good, but
I haven't seen the Ghibli films, so I don't have a real strong opinion on any of it.
Yeah.
and Princess Mononoke are my favorites.
Like, I know of them, and I know they're supposed to be really good. I just haven't watched them.
Fair enough.
Like, yeah, I have no strong opinion on them, but I've heard they're good, and it wouldn't surprise me if they were good. Like, that seems reasonable. I mean, as well loved as they are, I'm not dissing them at all. I just haven't found the time or the access to
that's
them.
fair
so,
enough.
so yeah.
But just as a little go ahead and watch, Patrick Stewart is in the redub of Nausicaa. The good dub, not the crappy one they did in the 80s.
Yeah. Well,
where they cut half the freaking movie.
Yeah, I'm more or less. Have we finished everything with Orphan 55? Because there's something I wanted to talk about, but I don't want it. It's sort of a diversion, so I was gonna hold it until we're finished with this.
I think so. I mean,
Yeah.
about as much a shit show as the episode it was.
Okay.